You gotta test it.
You gotta test.
You know, you gotta
test drive.
You gotta test drive before you buy it.
Yeah, a little
That's
test drive.
what you gotta do.
That is important.
And I had to test. I had to test drive.
And I needed a test drive too.
We had already test drive long before, but we needed to do another test drive. We needed to do what's going on in the house.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Couples Unscripted. I'm here with my lovely wife, Ayana, and we're here to talk about living together, and if living together is the ultimate test of a relationship.
We just went through different phases, and we went through different phases of living together. So I think for us, living together was how we grew within our relationship. And in each phase, we lived in a different house, or in each phase, we lived somewhere different. Yeah. And each place that we lived at was significant in the growth between us.
Yeah.
So we want to talk about living together because it was so important to us and the foundation of our relationship, that we didn't realize, like a dwelling, like a place of where you lay your head at night can actually like help mold the relationship. Mm-hmm. So for me, each place where we lived is really, really significant to me, because it was, okay, this is a portion of my life right now with you. This is how we are. And then when we moved somewhere else, it was a different dynamic, and then we moved somewhere else. So I think each living space was a whole nother phase and created like different foundations for us.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. I feel like initially before we lived together, it was great. I mean, our relationship was great, but there's something to not living together. There's a certain freedom, I guess you can say. But once someone like either comes into your space or you go into their space, or y'all move into a space together, there is still freedom, but it's just different. Like you are living with someone. So much stuff changed with yourself personally, because it's your energy and someone else coming within these four walls and trying to coexist. I would say like our early phases, when we first lived together, it was kind of a little non-traditional in a sense, but it was like the blueprint phase for us. I would say it really did lay down a lot of foundational things for us, and it like before we moved in together, like the question would be asked, like, are we capable of living together? Like you don't know until you actually know.
Through this episode, we're going to be talking about 3 phases that we've specifically gone through.
Yes.
And maybe by listening to this, you guys who are just now living together, or maybe you're just joining us and you already live together, but we want to give you backstory about our life and how we navigated living together. But then the phases that we're talking about specifically is the blueprint phase, laying the foundation, and the construction, which is what we're in right now.
Yeah.
So we are going to touch on those 3 different phases. Is living together the ultimate test of the relationship? And I believe that it is. And for us, it was. So again, we're going to talk about our 3 phases, and you guys will get to know a little bit about our phases and our life.
Yeah, we're going to give y'all a little peek, a little bit more into our life and our dynamic and our relationship and the growth and where we picked up at in that moment of our lives when you did move in and we did start to officially, quote unquote, live together. So yeah, I'm excited for this episode.
But yeah, to piggyback off what Nyles was saying, like, are we capable of living together? I think for me, and then Nyles can speak on how it was when I moved in with him, but originally I was in school and I was getting my master's, and COVID hit. So COVID, I know everybody has stories about COVID. So COVID was the time where everything was online. And then I had to go home from Florida. So I went home, and then I lived with you, and you already had a roommate. So I was going into his space. So I was adjusting to his standard of living. And I think I adjusted well because I was going into the space of two men, and I had to figure out number one, things were not of my liking. That's what I will say.
To say the least.
But I was able to manage, and I didn't come in strong arm. I did the things that I needed to do. So if I didn't like the way it was organized, I'm going to organize it. If I don't like what's being cooked, I'm going to cook it. So I think I did less complaining, and I did more like, I'm just going to clean the bathroom to my standard. I'm going to tidy things up and put this over here. Like, everything has to be orderly. So I think for me, I was like, okay, I can be in this space with him, but I can change this space without him getting annoyed.
Yeah, and it took some adjustment initially, but you did definitely come in, and I noticed that there was a shift in our space when you came. But I would say we actually embraced it and enjoyed it. I can speak for my roommate because we had conversations when you wasn't there. And like, yo, we were low key thankful that you came because you brought a different energy into the home, and the things you were doing, like just things we would probably forget as men. You know what I'm saying? We kind of just overlook. Not intentionally, but we did. And you would come and you would kind of bring your standard, like you said, of living and apply it, but it was never in our home, in the living space. You were never forceful with it. Like you said, when it came to you cooking and making dishes that you felt that you wanted to eat, it was fine. We adapted to it because your eats was clean eats anyway, so it wasn't an issue. It wasn't like you was trying to come in and force us to eat like some bad food. Like, you was like, no, I prefer to eat this type of stuff because it's organic, it's all natural, it's farm raised, and that was like, oh, eye opener, So that was cool, So we definitely enjoyed that aspect of you coming into the space.
When I moved into your space, was that a deciding factor that you wanted to be long-term with me? Was that a pivotal moment for you?
Well, since we were already 4 years in, I already knew that this was a long-term, more than likely my last.
But we had never lived together, so this is the testament.
So that was like the final kind of like, test that I needed to see. Like, all right, how can we coexist? And I found out fairly quickly that we could coexist very great. It was really a smooth integration, I felt like, with you coming in. So yeah, it was very pivotal in our relationship. I think it stamped the fact that like, yo, I'm gonna marry this girl. That let me know that you could be my wife and I could be your husband, and we could live together and be in the same home and have a loving, caring space that was full of all the things that we needed it to be a great living condition.
What we did really well with was being in the same space, like sleeping together.
Yes.
Our clothes coexisting together, like the bathroom, cooking. I think like those foundational things. I think if you can get to a place where you guys can sleep in the same bed, under the same roof, have your clothes, and I'm telling you, this was not a big space.
No.
So have like coexist two clothes in one closet, in the same drawers. Yeah,
I didn't have my room was not a big room. It was a 3-house. It was a 3-bedroom home, but it was old. The rooms was it was old, and the rooms weren't that really big. So yeah, it was definitely tight.
So for me, there was a list of like, I can handle this. Like, I can deal with this. This is fine.
And that was major to me because I know it was adjustment to your living kind of standards in a sense. And so
Right.
I recognize that. And because she didn't have to come live with me, she could have went back and stayed with your parents. You know, that wasn't too far, but she made the decision. She chose to come live with me. And so it was like, that was major. That was major that you did that. And so if like she was saying, if y'all were to do that and decide to like move in and live together, like it's going to be where you have to like figure out if can your clothes fit, who will sacrifice the closet space, quote unquote, you know,
Who's cleaning? Is there a clean bathroom? Like the bathroom.
and the standards of the cleaning is different, you know. The toilet, do you like the toilet up, do you like the toilet down, you know? Like I'm a stickler for like, yo, if you leave and you flushing, like close the toilet, you know. I don't like flushing with the toilet bowl up.
I will say that was a thing here. I don't think that was a thing at Shirley Street.
Maybe so, because Shirley had. I don't
even know if that was a thing at the apartment.
It was a thing at the apartment for sure.
Was it?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
I think one of the things that we had to work on for me was like shopping, like grocery shopping together. And because for us, we shop and we eat together.
Yeah.
Other couples may do it differently, but that's just how we do it.
That's how we do it, yeah.
We shop, we eat
together.
foods differently. There are nights where he eats what he wants and I eat what I want, but essentially like we eat things together. So I think at first, like I come from a really healthy background where my parents were very healthy. I grew up with reading ingredient labels and nutrition was really important. So I think that I pushed that on Nyles a little bit too hard. And I think, you know, we had a lot of arguments in a grocery store about Uncle Ben's rice.
Yeah, see, and
stupid, not to shout out Uncle Ben, but
but it was like, I'm all for clean eats because, you know, my backstory, like I have family that grew up, they had a farm, like we know clean eats, but I also came from a situation where, you know, food was food and you kind of eat what was in front of you because you had no choice. So there was a learning period going grocery shopping with you and trying to buy, I guess, the better brands and the better quality type of stuff. And it took us a while. It wasn't, she was initially she came off really, really strong.
yeah, absolutely.
And so we clashed a little bit, but I understood where she was coming from and she respected where I was coming from. Like, yo, you just can't just strong arm someone to kind of, but it was an adjustment period of us learning how, like, what to bring into the home, you know, that we both can enjoy and eat together. Because like we said, we eat our dinners together. So it wasn't a separate meal. We try to have the same meal. And, you know, it makes no sense trying to cook two different type of dinners. Like, no, let's not do that. So
that was like our first phase. Like that was just like the blueprint. Like we're just kind of sketching things out,
figuring out
how, because that, I mean, 4 years into our relationship and we had done 2 years of long distance and then we moved in. So we didn't have a lot of like time actually together. In one space.
Yes.
So when we realized that worked for us, we're like, okay, finished schooling. That's when we moved over and we moved to Atlanta. And then we kind of started our other phase. So there are going to be different phases, you know, within your relationship. Yep. And it's just how you guys are able to navigate those and grow within that space that you're in. And then, you know, the next space, we call it laying the foundation.
Yeah.
And I will say tidbit that we did get, like he did propose in the blueprint phase. So when we had first lived together, he did propose during that time. Story for another day. But that was exciting.
Yeah, the blueprint phase made me realize like I said, she could be my wife. So I did ask her to marry me in that phase. And like in the second phase, the laying the foundation, we got married, moved to Atlanta, got to our own apartment. This was our space now. I didn't have a roommate. She wasn't moving into my space. This was our space. We was creating and building this energy together. But the beauty of that for us, I'm thankful that she did come and stay with me for the 4 months, I want to say, back, we call it Shirley Street, back on Shirley Street, because by the time we moved to Atlanta, we already had built-in patience and understanding and of how to coexist in the space together. Now it's just about like making it our own.
Right.
And I think that was very, very important, and we were very fortunate for that we already had like a trial run prior to actually moving in together and having our own space together.
Moving to Atlanta was the first time where I would be living in a space that I can call my own. Remember, I met Nyles when I was 20. Let's let it soak in. So I had a lot of growing to do, and I had a lot of learning to do. And going into that space was really important to me because we were married. And then I was like, okay, we can shop for furniture. Like, it was such a cute space. And I was like, wow, this is my own. So for Nyles, he had already lived on his own. But for me, this was my first time just being in a space where I could call my own and I can decorate it how I want. So I think for me, it was about myself and my self-growth, but also growing with you.
In that space.
And it was like a new phase of independence for me. But it was also like, okay, we are in this together. We were building our legacy. But I also have to do a lot of growing independently because this is like my first... I mean, you know,
And
I had apartments with roommates, but to say that this is your own is something else.
yeah, and even for me, it was some growing and just for myself as well because of moving away from my hometown, like reestablish, and also everything kind of happened so fast. Like she graduated, we moved, we got married, and it was all happened within like a 3-month time frame, you know. So that apartment phase was the laying the foundation was almost a whirlwind because it was so much happening. It was in that honeymoon phase as well, like where everything was just heightened and everything was just like new and exciting and like we were just kind of like out here, you know. Like we had a plan, but we also kind of like you kind of feel like we didn't have a plan. Now you kind of think about it.
We were just kind of figuring it out.
Yeah, we was figuring it out.
Going through the motions.
Yeah, we had to find a way, and we did. You know, but that was the beauty of moving to that apartment and laying that foundation is because we learned real quickly, like, yo, we got this together. Like it was. Any small disagreement, you can't go anywhere. We in this house together. We figured it out, and you have to figure it out right there on the spot. And the beauty of not being at home is like I couldn't go to my homie spot. You know, I couldn't go back to my mom's. You know what I'm saying? And you couldn't either. Wasn't nowhere to run to. Like so, keep your butt at home and let's have this conversation. So that was a beauty of it, and it's important in your relationship when you do move in with your partner that you realize like y'all are in these four walls together, and just as if you can get like highly stressed and feel overwhelmed, so can your partner. So it is very important to stop and like check in, have a conversation, and continue to make that space really y'all space to where it is a warm and loving energy. Like your decoration, the way she kind of decorated the home and the color she did, in my opinion, it really helped set the mood and the energy for when I did come home from work or something. It was just relaxing, you know. It was giving, it was comforting. So it's important. So yeah, make it your own. The furniture shopping was fun. I enjoyed going furniture.
Yeah,
it was a lot.
It was fun, and we had our own vision of what we wanted, and I enjoyed including you. I enjoyed including you in the journey instead of me saying, it's my space. You know, usually it's a woman's space. I'm not going to speak for all, but I am going to say that the woman is usually decorating the space. But I think for me, it was really important for me to pull Nyles in, like to pull you in, and because it's our space. So I want you to have input in it. And that was really important. I was like, okay, this is my vibe. Like, this is what I'm thinking. I know he's going to be on board. This is what I'm thinking, but I still want to go out and find something that like we can sit on and we can tangibly like find something that's he's going to like and I'm going to like too. So it was really fun. And we did find something, you know, and then of course I took over with all the artwork and everything like that. But, you know, I always tell Nyles like what I'm thinking, and he'll be like, "Oh, that sounds good. That sounds great."
I mean, usually it sounds good. So look, and if it don't, she knows. I'm like, look,
yeah,
nah, that ain't it. They ain't cutting it. So, but that was the beauty of that phase, like the laying the foundation, and then we was newly married, so we was newlyweds, so the energy was high, and then we made that transition over to where we are currently at. We call this the construction. Like, we already laid the foundation. We got the blueprints. Now we're constructing. We are building the things that we kind of laid out, and we're building a home right now, and we making it truly something for family. You know, it's like.
But I want a bigger house.
Of course, you want a bigger house.
So the next house is going to be the house, but this will do for now.
It's a nice step.
Yeah, I think it is nice for building, you know, nice for building. I think that this is the bigger, harder, more like difficult conversations that we've had. Like, we started couples therapy here.
We really locked in on the finances here.
We locked in on the finances.
Looking for homes, you know, so we had to worry about the loans. We went on a home search. So there was things. Yeah. There's been a lot of things with this construction phase where it's probably been the biggest leap in our relationship, where we had to probably do some of the biggest growth, like not only for ourselves, but also for our relationship and for us, because the honeymoon newlywed phase is kind of like, it's done. You know, we're 2 years in to marriage. We ain't, you know, going on 3. We're not little puppies with it. So it's like, the seriousness is here. You know, we start talking about family. So it's important to really, for us to be in tune with our health, you know, or in tune with our finances. So, and in tune with how we communicate and how we go about our day to day if we want to bring a family. When y'all get to this phase with your partner, hopefully by that time, y'all have already kind of settled a lot of things, and y'all can really focus on building what y'all want, you know, the vision that y'all have for each other and for your family. And I think that's where we have aligned on a lot of things, and now we are focused on building this up to be the best version of us that it can be.
What in our relationship changed when we moved into the third phase, the construction phase? Okay. And we moved into a house. What changed for you with our relationship, and why?
What changed? I think what really changed is, like I said, it got more serious. Like, things, like, it got real, you know, because we're talking about loans. You know, we started filing our taxes jointly. You know, it's just like, you was really serious about, like, all right, how can we plan and start the phases for pregnancy and stuff, and going through those things, you know. And so those were like some of it's just, everything just was like, got real. And then it was like, it's not just for me, it's a us thing, you know. So I think that's probably was the biggest transition truly into the home, because the house felt more adult, you know, outside the apartment. And I'm not knocking people who stay in apartments and townhomes, but I think our dream and the vision has been to have a house and to have a home, you know, and like a house that we can call home, excuse me. So coming into the house and outside the apartment, it was like, all right, we're taking that next step, you know. And I definitely feel like it's been a big step, you know, and it's been a beautiful ride, I must say. Between the 3 phases, which one was your favorite phase so far? Like, Do you have a favorite phase?
I personally loved phase 1.
Yeah.
I loved the blueprint phase of our relationship because it was just fun. Like, it was so much fun. For me, it was really fun living with you and living with, your roommate. And I got to have a relationship with your roommate, and I called him my brother. Like, I really enjoyed that relationship that I had. But the stakes weren't as high. We weren't talking about children, and we weren't filing our taxes together.
Yeah.
And it was a bit lower stakes. So I feel like we weren't talking about the same things that we talk about then, but it was a little bit not funner, but like it was just lower stakes, and I had a really fun time, and it wasn't so serious.
Yeah, I think that
But
was
I love the seriousness of our relationship.
Yes.
It's just in that time, it was just something different, and it was fun, and it was playful, and it was new, and it was different for me because I had never lived like with anybody, so that was so much fun. So much fun to like live with somebody. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I would say that's probably was my favorite phase too, because like I said, you came into my space and it made me realize we could coexist.
Right.
You got out of your comfort zone, and then it seems as if that space became your comfort zone a little bit, and we kind of transferred some of that energy that we had there into the apartment. And so I feel like that beginning phase of those 4 months when you came is still with us right now to this day. Like it showed that we can be truly quirky together, just hanging around, laugh and say just random things together, and like ain't nobody else around, but we get it,
Right.
So it exposed so much of how similar we are together. So I love that blueprint phase. Like I cherish those moments, and I still call back to those moments today, because it matters.
Yeah, I just think those 4 months of us living together during COVID were pivotal.
It was crazy pivotal
to our relationship
Major.
and how we're going to be together. It was like I was doing schoolwork. You went off. You were working. I was doing schoolwork. Like your roommate was doing different shifts, so we was overlapping. Like it was just we were kind of like in this rhythm together.
It
And
was.
it was just really like, wow, I can coexist with him. He can come home. I can cook something, or maybe he cooks something. Like we can go in the backyard, have a good time because he had a dope backyard.
Oh, we had a vibe.
So it was just a beautiful phase, and I think embrace all of the phases of your relationship because we're going to get older. And this is just the third phase, and then I know the next when I get my bigger house, the next one is going to be a different phase, you know, with children.
Yeah, and it's important to, like you said, each phase, identify a phase, like in your relationship right now, take a moment and be like, yo, what phase are we in? And start realize, all right, we are in this type of phase. Like, I know we are in our construction phase. I know we are currently building. But back on Shirley Street, I knew it was in a blueprint phase. I knew we was trying to lay down certain parameters and sketches and figure out how will this relationship be, And did we ask all the questions then? No, because there was some questions we didn't know to ask. But we was able to be truly ourselves around each other and really kind of like realize, like I said earlier, we could coexist. I could live up to your standards, and you could adapt to my standards as well, and it wouldn't be an issue. So it's important with your partner to be able to meet them halfway when it comes to living together. Definitely not saying lower your standards. I don't think that. If anything, you should meet your partner and raise your standards if that's the case. But living together is important, and I think it's a great test to your relationship, and if you can make it, and if y'all should be together, like to be in the same space, to be intimate, to be able to have difficult conversations, and then bounce back from it and still love each other within your space. I think that's very important. What were some of the obstacles that you would say we encountered going through the phases?
I think the obstacles changed through the course of the phases, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I think our phase 1 obstacle was trying to figure out the groceries and how we're going to cook and handle the meals, because I hated everything in your pantry. So that was a huge obstacle for me because, again, food was so important to me. So I feel like that was a huge obstacle. And then when we go into the second phase, we had already had that figured out. So I was like, okay, great. We already have this figured out. Like, we had tons of arguments over groceries. Don't need to deal with that. And then
It was her.
phase
arguing.
2. Yeah, I was arguing. Whatever. Phase 2, I feel like our obstacle was...
I didn't know what it is for me. Ours is going to be different.
I want to say like it was... I want to say like friends.
Family and friends.
Like, I want to say like,
Family
yeah,
and
like...
friends was the obstacle for me. Yeah.
Why would you say that?
Because family and friends was playing a part in our relationship at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Okay, I agree with what Nyles is saying.
Yeah.
Family and friends was an obstacle in phase 2.
Yeah. We was away from everyone.
We were away from... This is the first time... Actually, this is the first time that Nyles is out of South Carolina. He was away from family and friends. I'm always away from family and friends. Sometimes. Mm-hmm. I like to travel. I like to be out. I like to be gone.
But me being away wasn't an issue.
No, it wasn't an issue. You being away wasn't an issue.
But the family and friends were issues. It was just... Yeah.
There were issues going on with family and friends. How about that?
Yeah.
And I also think intertwined with that was me really finding a friend group, mm-hmm. and like finding friends. And I feel like we were navigating you finding a group in Atlanta. And I think that was one of the obstacles, was just like trying to find people, like trying to separate us a little bit, like my friends and you having your outlet and me having my outlet.
Yeah.
That was an obstacle.
That was, yeah. What about?
And then when we go into the next phase, I think the obstacle is like creating this family. Like, it's not really an obstacle, but
it's been some trial. So
having a child, I think is our next obstacle. And I think that for me is what rings a bell when we think of obstacles within this next phase. And building the legacy that we want to create is an obstacle that we are going through and navigating, but we will overcome all obstacles.
We will.
Right?
And I would say money and finance has never been an obstacle. Now, is it a discussion? Yes. It do be a discussion, and we do have conversations about money and finances. But is it an obstacle? No, because she know what I make. I know what she makes. We do our darnest to live within our means. So it's like, so that's not an obstacle. But yeah, so I'm thankful for that. Like, that haven't been an obstacle for us, but it really has been a lot of exterior things though has been like our obstacles. So that's a plus for our relationship, I would say. So I'm thankful for that, if I'm being honest.
Is living together the ultimate test? Absolutely. I think when you continue to live together, you go through these different phases. Initially moving in, you are going to find so many things about them that hopefully are not deal breakers, but you find out all of those different things to realize and to figure out if you guys are compatible and if you want to continue to be together. But there's just so much growth with taking that leap to live with your partner. And we did choose to live with each other before we were married, and I personally think that that's a great idea.
Yep.
Because you gotta test it.
You gotta test.
You gotta
test drive.
You gotta test drive before you buy it.
Yeah, a little test drive.
That's what you gotta do.
That is important.
And I had to test drive.
And I needed a test drive too.
We had already test drive long before, but we needed to do another test drive. We needed to do what's going on in the house. So I think, find what works best for you guys. And those are our phases. The blueprint laying the foundation, and we're in the construction phase now, and
Yep.
take things step by step and take things in phases, and embrace those phases and look back and realize where you guys are now and where you guys have become, like how far you guys have become. Yeah, and just embrace all those changes.
Yeah. And again,
Phases.
it's a test. You know, living together, like I think it's the ultimate test too, because you're going to constantly be tested living with your significant other. So just be prepared for the test. But if this is what you want, come correct, come the right way, keep an open mind, and ultimately enjoy these phases that you go through, because then you can look back and you can laugh at the moments. You can reminisce about the good times and some of the bad times, and be like, yo, we went through that. We made it through it, and we are here, and we better off for it. And I love the fact that I can sit here and think about moments in the apartment and be like, damn, that was a great time. In the same breath saying, I'm happy to be here
Right.
in this moment with you.
We thank you guys so much for tuning in to Couples Unscripted, where we talked about living together and the 3 phases of our relationship, and go over the phases of your relationship and embrace those phases and look back and see how you guys have learned and grown. Follow us on all social media platforms: Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and Facebook. And then also subscribe to YouTube. Please like, subscribe, and share. We will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching me and my mans. And yeah, we'll see you on the next episode.
Hey, holla at y'all. Thank y'all for watching Couples Unscripted.